What's up, guys? Devin Carroll here, back with episode 3 of the Deventum podcast. We have an awesome guest today, a man who has changed my life for sure. Learned a lot from this guy, and I'm forever grateful. He's done it all. He's a veteran, real estate investor, gym owner, private money lender, landlord, you name it. He's done it all. He's been around the sun. He's young, but he's done a lot. Welcome, Nate. Good to have you.
Appreciate the invite. Didn't pay you to say any of that. It's miraculous that you got good things to say. But no, it's been cool, growing up in a small town in Virginia. My graduating class had 150 people in it. I tell people that here, they're like 150, like you didn't need 1,500. I'm like, no, 150.
That's why you got the beard still.
That's right. You gotta stay true to your roots. But grew up on a cattle farm in Virginia. Very early on, knew I did not want to be a cattle farmer. Mm-hmm. And then, opportunity was not that abundant in that town that I was in. Yeah. I think that it allowed me to know that I needed to get out of there. And I barely graduated high school. I had to go to summer school twice.
Like most entrepreneurs.
Right. In fact, I think they honestly just wanted to get rid of me. I don't know if I actually ever passed. They were just like, get this kid out of here. So then I was like, all right, now what do? And decided I was going to go into the military. Originally attempted to go into the Coast Guard. Went to the Coast Guard office and said, hey, man, appreciate your interest. It's a 2-year waiting list to go to basic. I'm like, I can't wait 2 years. Mm-hmm. Went next door to the Navy. Nothing against the Navy, but I was like, I can't be on a boat all the time. Went next door to the Marines. Guy was out for lunch. Went next door to the Army. Finals at a strip mall. And walked in. I had never thought about being in the Army. And the guy's like, how can I help you? I was like, well, I enlist in the service, went to the Coast Guard, 2-year waiting list. He goes, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, man. What did you do? I'm 18 years old. Sit down with this guy, and he starts showing me pictures of what he did. And all I saw was jumping out of planes, being in Blackhawks, and blowing shit up. Oh, yeah. They had cool guns. I'm like, hey, I could probably do that. Yeah. He's like, well, I got a few questions for you. He's like, really 3 most important ones. Do you have any criminal history that would prevent you from getting security clearance? I'm like, no, sir. He's like, are you afraid of heights? I'm like, not to my knowledge, no. And then he goes, are you a good shot? I'm like, I've been hunting since I was like 8. Yeah, I'm a pretty good shot. He goes, yeah, you found the right job. So I signed up for that as an airborne reconnaissance scout. Looking back now, I'm like freaking crazy, but I wouldn't take it back for the world. And served in that for 3.5 years. And I think that really taught me a lot of lessons. Like, when shit gets hard, keep going. Mike Tyson says, when everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
Damn right.
One of our commanders used to say when we go on raids and things like that, everyone has a plan until you get shot at.
Oof, yeah.
All right? So it's just exaggerated a little bit more, but everyone has a plan of business until the rubber meets the road. And a lot of people get stuck in that planning phase and never take any actionable steps. So got out of the military, and then there was a moment in my life, and I've had many of these, as many people have, like, all right, now what?
Yeah. And how old were you when you got out? You were 23?
22.
22.
Yeah. So ended up linking up with my brother. He had already kind of laid the groundwork. He had gotten recently into physical fitness. Great. Lost, I think, like 150 pounds. And I was like, became obsessed with it. Yeah. And then decided, hey, how hard could it be to start training gyms? Yeah. So ended up pre-selling 500 members into a one location that was really loosely identified at the time. Didn't have much equipment. Had hardly any staff. I remember the very beginning days, I would be scrubbing the toilets, I'd be on the phones, I'd be doing gym tours.
In the sauna?
In the sauna, some sketchy stuff. I told you some stories about the sauna. But and through grit and trial and tribulation, really, with limited guidance, and I think really, again, just that grit, ended up growing it collectively with an awesome team and a lot of really great folks that I was able to work with to 3 locations, 15,000 members, and 102 employees at the very end.
And when you started that, where you were just immediately partner, right? You were doing whatever needed to be done?
At first, I needed to prove myself. Yeah. So and we just kind of worked through it together. And I never really, it sounds crazy, but I never had an end goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I was just showing up every day, and if that meant that day I scrubbed treadmills,
Mm-hmm.
I'd bitch about it under my breath. I'm like, anybody wants to do that, but I was going to do it to the best of my ability.
Exactly.
And then it became very evident to me, like just being from being in the military, the leadership, my operational structure,
Mm-hmm.
and sales was really where I excelled and really enjoyed. And very quickly, that was realized amongst everybody that was involved on the early days of day one.
Yeah.
I was enabled then to be put in those higher level positions. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we got an offer to kind of, I guess, step away, if you will,
Yeah.
from those gyms because we had a competitor coming to town,
Mm-hmm.
and our gyms were like in a triangle,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Hey guys, like we're gonna put a state of the art, massive gym right in the middle of your all's gyms,
Mm-hmm.
and you can either just walk away and hand over all your employees, all your members, all the equipment, or you can
Compete with us.
compete with us."
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
At this point, everyone was on the same page anyway. They were really looking. They were kind of done with it. I don't want to say we were
Yeah.
burned out, but we were burned out.
Yeah.
You know, and it was kind of a refreshing thing. A lot of people say, looking back, and especially more so to my brother and his partner Jeremy, like I bet it was a relief, or I bet you feel good about it. It's like and it was a relief, but like we can then take a breath and go
Mhm.
do other things. And so at that point, then moved to Miami, got into real estate, and also was doing some sales consulting for a gentleman down there. And I remember during doing the sales consulting, I'm like, some of the clients that we would have are real estate teams. I'm like, these guys suck at sales.
Yeah. And yeah, but they were making money.
But they were making bank. I'm like, if they can do it, sure as shit, I can do it.
Yeah.
And then ended up doing my first few wholesales down in Miami. Was too far away from family.
Yeah.
That was still in Virginia. Looked on the map. I said, where's halfway between where I'm at and where I'm from?
Yeah.
It was Wilmington or here, because I still wanted to live at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Wilmington for 2 days. Came here for 2 days. It was a no-brainer.
Yep.
And that first year that I landed here, I did 32 flips.
Yeah.
That first
Wow.
year.
Wow.
So it's
Well, yeah.
fast forward around how I got here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Obviously, I've heard it a lot, but
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into that story. Kind of going back to Miami when you first got into wholesaling, right? You were doing the sales consulting, realized, these guys are making money in real estate. I can too.
Yeah.
Obviously, you started with wholesaling. What kind of made you choose wholesaling to get your feet wet at first?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So, like, a lot of people get into wholesaling first because of a lack of capital.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a ton, looking back now, but I had enough I could have started flipping.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember, like, I was just Googling, like, ways of getting real estate investing. Because when I was working at the gyms and we owned the gyms, like, I remember everyone I talked to that had time, money, and freedom
Mm-hmm.
all were in real estate in some capacity. So I knew it couldn't be some fluke. And I started looking at ways, and wholesaling stuck out to me because I was like, wait a minute. I can just go out there, lock up a contract,
No risk.
and try to move it. And if I mess up, worst case scenario, I've lost my earnest money.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know at that point really where I would even go to put earnest money in on my
Mhm.
first contract. So I think it was a no-brainer for me. I could
Mhm.
get my feet wet and get some experience, and I did the wrong thing. Worst thing I could have done is I didn't pay for any education.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't join a mentorship. And the
Bootstrapped it.
first deal I did, I made every mistake I could have made. I was driving 2 hours each way to go show it myself.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And like it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
I still got to move though,
Mm-hmm.
and the comps were all wrong. But I still got to move. I don't know. It was a very nominal assignment fee, but when I got that check in my hand, I'm like, shit. All right, I need to do this again.
Yeah.
And then I started getting more confidence. When I moved to Charleston, very shortly after, ended up joining a mastermind,
Mhm.
and then that really pushed me to get to that 32 flip in the first year. Totally different markets, obviously, from
Yeah.
but like still, I think it really enabled me to have that confidence, if
Mhm.
nothing else, that I had people in my corner that would push me and could bail me out if I needed help.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's awesome. So you get you get the ball rolling with wholesale, obviously, like a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
You end up moving to Charleston, and then 32 flips in your first year. That's big stuff. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of management.
Yeah.
Number one to just start with that. In regards to finding the deals, how were you finding them? Were you finding them on the market? Were you wholesaling? Were you doing direct seller marketing, or what did that look like?
Yeah, good question. So the only direct to seller marketing was texting.
Yeah.
The launch control. I would send out the texts in the morning. I would go on seller appointments in the afternoon. I would then drive for dollars in the late afternoon and get back home in the evening and respond to all the text messages.
Yeah.
And then set up my appointments for the next day. It was rinse, wash, and repeat. Didn't have a tracker. Didn't have a CRM.
Yeah.
Only responded to the people who said yes.
Just a notepad.
A notepad and my kitchen table.
Yeah.
And launch control. And then, would go out and do some other crazy stuff. I told you, like follow trash trucks.
Yeah.
So I followed trash truck routes. Anyone who didn't have a trash can out on a Tuesday, morning, it was getting picked up on Tuesday. Say they came by at 7 a.m. I get out there at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
No trash can, no overgrown grass. Write down the address. Go home, look up the number, call the owner. But that was it. I mean, it was just straight launch control. Driving for dollars, knocking on doors, and following trash trucks. That makes me sound like a stalker. But.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. It's the grit. In regards to coming to Charleston and going from, I want them to understand your transition from wholesale to flipping. Were you still wholesaling some of those deals that first year when you were in Charleston for the first time, or you were just flipping?
Yeah, we were. I was still wholesaling. I mean, I would say maybe 15%.
Okay.
Because at that time, literally could close on a Friday, paint, rip out all the carpet, throw down LVP, list it on the market on a Monday.
Yeah.
And make a 20-30 grand rip.
And this was 2020, 2021?
2020.
Yeah. Hedge fund era, low interest rates, free money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I had one property in Mount Pleasant. It was on Clover Street in Brickyard Plantation.
Uh-huh.
Dude, I had people, I listed on the market, all I did was tear the carpet out. Didn't even paint it. It was all subfloor, that's it.
Wow.
I think it was somewhere in the whereabouts of like 21 written offers. I had people driving down from Baltimore, and they're like, please do not sell this house. I know you had multiple offers.
Yeah.
I had to enable overlapping showings. There was a line down the street.
Jesus.
And highest and best came in. I couldn't believe it. I called the agent because it was so far above ask. I don't want to exaggerate because I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I want to say it was like close to 50 grand above ask.
Wow.
As is, closed 7 days, proof of funds attached.
Cash.
I'm like, this is too good to be true.
Yeah.
And we ended up making like just under 100 grand on that deal.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything to it.
And it was quick.
It was quick, easy in out. And that's just not the case today unless you get a stupid good deal on it. Like you have to like grand touch all steal that thing.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's not, if you're around these groups, you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how to still make money in any market, which makes you a stronger investor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And then obviously first year you did 32 flips pretty much by yourself. And then at what point, you've grown teams, you've shrunken down, then you've grown teams again. So at what point did you determine that it was best to start to grow a team?
Yeah, I did a lot on my own. Looking back now, I'm not sure really like
how you did
how
it.
I did it. Truthfully, I really don't.
Yeah.
And still had a good attitude with sellers and everything like that. And still, it was just like moving. But really, it was me going to a seller appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I got stuck in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone who lives in Charleston knows that very well. And I'm like sitting there, and I was like, dude, yeah, I'm making a lot of money. Clearing 7 figures a year. But I have a high-paying job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a business.
Yeah, and the reason you got into this was because of people with the time, money, and the freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did the exact opposite of what I wanted. And I've always been a big person. I love helping people, whether that's just giving them opportunity, seeing them grow. And you're a perfect example. Like your growth has been awesome to watch. And I wasn't doing any of that. So at some point, it would have gotten very unfulfilling. So I just started with like writing down like who do I need to help, and it was like very clear acquisition and so on and so forth. And then very shortly thereafter is kind of when you came into the picture there.
Yeah.
After I ignored you.
Yeah, it's funny. Nate posted in a Facebook group that he was looking to hire someone, and this was right after I was still in the corporate world, and I was just trying to get in. And I messaged you on Instagram one day or Facebook one day, and you're like, yeah, let's hop on a call tomorrow at 3. I'm like, all right, sounds good. The time comes around, you like text me like 30 minutes before, hey man, I'm sorry, I have COVID. And then like an hour later, he posts on his story him in a walkthrough and a show. I'm like, that asshole does not have COVID. What the hell? But I was persistent. I followed up. I got him on the phone, and Nate gave me an opportunity, which was funny. It was I'll never forget it. I started the Monday after Easter for you and your old partner. And my first Friday, I had just quit my corporate job. I got like $1,000 in my bank account. And that first Friday, you let us know that you guys are separating. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to do?
Everybody's faces were like, because I was trying to get him to, like, because it was still, when we weren't going to make the official separation date till like June or July.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, we just hold on. There's no brand new teammates. They're going to freak out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. I didn't even know what was happening. He started talking like, no. For the love of God, no.
That's exactly why it didn't work out. Well, into that, I feel like you have a great opinion, just experience on business partnerships, right? Everybody wants to partner, whether it's on a deal, whether it's on a full business venture, or what it is. Do you want to just touch a little bit on your experience with partnerships, whether it's a per deal basis or a whole venture?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good subject. We were talking a little bit before the podcast. I'm a big fan of partnering on per project, per deal.
Like you always told me, date someone before you get in bed with them.
100%. Yeah. You gotta know, what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Everyone can be a good operator if things are going good. I really don't give a shit about that. Mm-hmm. I want to see what you can do when things are going bad.
Yeah.
That's what I care about, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Mm-hmm. Talk about this in the chapter name of my book is called Embrace the Suck.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes things just suck, and you have to go through it together and keep level-headed, not argue. And I've had good relationships per deals. I've had poor relationships per deals too. But then on the longer-term ventures, like I owned a roofing company, pretty good. One of the partners was awesome, and still a really good friend of mine. Unfortunately, just some of the other people involved, alignment of values, quit working out that way. And that's been the number one common thing for me, even with the previous partner in real estate. Yeah. Still, I think he's still a great dude, still, a friend, but alignment of values just kind of fell apart. And if everything else is going like shit, the world's on fire around you, you're losing money, if you maintain your integrity and your core values, you'll be all right. You might have to push a little harder. You might have to endure some pain, but that's temporary. If you compromise your integrity, your values, and you start taking shortcuts for a short-term gain, compromising those, you will feel that later on, guaranteed.
100%. And then, whether it's you still may be successful in that one deal or in that one venture, but when the next opportunity comes around and you go back to that partner and they're not interested, that's when you'll realize it.
Exactly. And that's like, if you're in a small town, like Charleston's a small town.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't take long. You burn a few people, and maybe not even intentionally. Maybe you were just trying to get a deal done, didn't realize that you compromised your core values. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
It's going to come to the surface. Maybe not immediately, but eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's important. And it's funny because you never really hear about the partnerships that are good, right? I feel like every books I read, podcasts I listen to, people I talk to, you never hear about the good partnerships. You want to talk about? You've obviously had Farrago's a great example.
Oh yeah.
Like an example. What do you think? Between your and Dan's relationship on that deal, what made you guys succeed on that?
It's just the ease of communication.
Yeah.
I think that I knew I had a partner with Dan that had extremely similar core values to me. We've been partners before, so it enabled us not to question each other's stuff. Like there was times that he called me, I'm like, Dan, I'm super busy right now. I 110% trust your judgment. Yeah. And vice versa. I'd call him and he'd same thing. He's like, dude, you do what you think is right. I know I'll probably agree. And we never had one hiccup the entire project. To this date, most successful project I've ever done.
Yeah.
And he actually, again, brought that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was going through his mind, his mental Rolodex, if you will. And it's like, this is a big-ass project.
Yeah.
I need someone in my corner I know I can trust. And, very grateful that he thought of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's awesome too, because I think it's also important to just recognize how these partnerships form, right? Like, in that case, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dan brought the deal, then you brought the funding at a great rate, right?
We tag team the funding, but because we were both in it together, we combined our experience. That's what really set the deal up for success, was the great terms and the ease of the funding as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I sent a draw request to these folks. It was like for $175,000. This long, elaborate thing, and like making sure I didn't mistype anything. I put together all these pictures, all these videos. They didn't even look at the pictures of videos. They just marked them away. I'm like, jeez, all right. But that's a level of trust that you've gotten a massive amount of it.
That's awesome too. And this just popped into my head, but back to what you said before, just everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You guys had a plan to do a big addition on that project, right? And what happened?
Dude,
y'all didn't just get punched in the face. You got roundhoused.
We got roundhoused. Chuck Norris showed up and roundhoused our ass. Yeah. No, we were just going to pop the top off, take the roof off, and put a second story on there.
Yeah.
We were probably going to do a detached garage at the time. And took the top off, and Dan calls me. He's like, I got bad news. So I'm like, is this about Farragut? He's like, yeah. I'm like, shit, all right. Because we were already a little nervous going in. There's some massive loan docs to sign.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, we're going to have to knock it down. I'm like, what do you mean we're going to have to knock it down? His structural integrity is not good. As a matter of fact, it almost fell down. I'm like, okay. That kind of sucks. So it's like a Thursday. It's like, you sit there knowing that a $950,000 house that you just bought is getting scraped and leveled.
Yep.
But worked out really well because our ARV went up because we could do a raised slab instead of a crawl. And we could advertise as a 2024 new build. Yeah. And this was a little hiccup, but and to your point, in that partnership could have freaked out. Yeah. But we were like, gotta do what we gotta do, man. And it worked out really well. Yeah, you guys both showed your true colors in that moment and strategized and put together a better plan, and you ended up probably doing better than you would have done had everything worked out. Yeah, we did do better. The market worked out, the project worked out, and you pre-sold it too. Pre-sold it at the bar. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great story. All right, about I think one thing that I envy about you, and I saw it in real time, for 2.5 years, was just how you do a great job delegating. You do a great job hiring people. Then you do a great job of allowing them to, you don't encourage them to mess up, right? But you give them the freedom. You don't micromanage. When for some context, I started with Nate as a lead manager, just smiling and dialing, and he gave me. I moved up to acquisitions. Yeah, it gave me the worst. Yeah, I think that thing got dust on it for sure. Sure did. Yeah. I was getting cursed off left and right, but. Gave me tough skin, and you were just testing me out, right? You were just testing me out, seeing if I had what it took. But go from lead manager to acquisitions manager, and then we got punched in the face, right? 2 flips, rates hit the roof, lost some money, and then we pivoted more to the wholesale, and you gave me opportunity to earn more commission doing dispo, and I did that, and then next thing operations manager, then next thing COO. So kind of from your, just as the leader, and the manager in that situation, what gave you, not for me specifically, but you've done it again, obviously with Jake and other people, but what's kind of your mindset behind that? A lot of people will make a hire to delegate a task, but then they'll micromanage and still give that. So what's kind of your mindset on allowing people to, take it with free motion and you having a plan if they do fuck up? Yeah, that's a good question. I think that really it comes down to like going back to maybe even the military. Yeah. Like going through officer training, things of that nature, non-commissioned officer training, things of that nature, is like, okay, you give someone structure, you give them empowerment, and you hold them accountable, make your standards from day one non-negotiable. And as long as everything aligns there, let them run.
Mhm.
Let them run. I know one thing for sure. If you or I are, merging in and out of traffic 100 miles an hour, we're going to eventually bump into one another and set us back. But if we both stay in our lanes, our dedicated lanes, we can then go 110 miles an hour and get to our destination much quicker.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with whoever that person is in that role. You have to be okay with knowing they're going to fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make mistakes. That is probably going to cost money.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, not if, but when that happens, it's important as a leader to unpack and debrief on those situations, right? Kind of like, just like in military, come back from an operation or a mission. Hey, let's do a quick debriefing while it's fresh.
Yeah.
What went well, what went bad, but most importantly, how can we make what went bad go well the next time?
Yeah. That's
exactly the way it is in business. And do it fresh. Don't come at them with, yelling or screaming or because no one's going to react well to that. But first of all, it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But I just want to let you know it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
What we're going to do is we're going to sit down. We're just going to figure this out together.
Yeah.
How we make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think if you operate with that, people are comfortable then buying into those roles.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a transition, like with Jake. Now, from where he was at day one, taking over director of operations, obviously had big shoes to fill, to now how confident he is was all due to him being able to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And he and I had hard conversations along the way, but we're able to walk away from those hard conversations and still be positive.
Yeah, and it just strengthens your relationship that much
Even
more, right?
more, yeah.
Yeah, it allows you to invest more into him or whoever it be, and
And it makes them, I don't want to say, maybe a better way to say it would be like loyal, right?
Mhm.
It's like there's opportunities everywhere, but if they really are bought into their position, the company values, and who is ultimately running the company,
yeah.
it makes it a lot harder to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think it's like I saw it when I was COO at Stag, and I hired Margie to be our TC, right? We determined that it was best, hey, Dev, we got to get transaction coordination off your plate. So, we go to our interviews and we make a hire. And I remember, like, after 2 weeks of having her, I, like, looked up and I'm like, why am I still as busy as I was two months ago? And it was because I was micromanaged. I was just, I knew that if she wasn't doing it right, it was on me, and I didn't want to let you down. So I was like, I need to make sure she's doing everything right.
Yeah.
And then, but the reason we hired it because I wasn't producing any money from transaction coordination, right? I had to get back into AC or Dispo to go ahead and increase revenue.
That's right.
And then I remember you sat me down one day. You're like, dude, you just gotta. It's okay to let her screw up. It's okay to let her screw up, and if she doesn't learn from the mistakes, then we have to replace her. But
as I walked in the office, you like disheveled.
yeah.
Like, you good, bro?
She's not getting it.
It's all right. Just take a breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it was also even just in regards, you see it too with the acquisitions role, right? The turnover and everything there. And, you hire people, you invest a lot of time. And then, like, I had my first ag guy leave me about, 2 months ago. Okay. And it was literally just after we trained him for 70 days straight, right? He was about to become an AM and just hours. And and granted, he wasn't a performer. And I actually ended up figured it out. Like, I set the meeting to, lay him off because I figured out that he was forging his calls, just clicking.
Oh,
it was just meeting KPI and all. When all your calls, when your average talk time is less than a second, you think something's going on, right? And he sent me the email before we hopped on the call, which whatever, it is what it is. But that's how have you kind of adapted to that? I know you've been in it twice as long as I have been in it, and it's always a thing. I know it's still a thing in most businesses, but how after losing at guys and seeing guys leave and seeing guys stay, what do you think is the most important trait that you see in the guys that do work out, me and Jake, versus the guys that don't work out?
I think that it goes back to really, I think it's their background.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta look and say, like, how bad do they really want it?
Mm-hmm.
Does it just sound cool that they want to be involved in real estate investing, or do they really live, breathe, eat that? Because for the first year or two, that's what it takes. I don't
Yeah.
care who you are. No one's gotten to a 7-figure operation or above without literally it being obsessed with it. I mean, remember I told you one time, I was like, dude, really appreciate you sending out texts at 10 o'clock and not responding, but take a breath.
Yeah.
You know, take a breath, it's fine. And I think that's the biggest thing. Also, going back to discipline.
Yeah.
Right? People don't need motivation.
Mm-mm.
They need discipline. Because it's really the people who do what they don't want to do when they don't want to do it consistently who work out.
Yeah. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, right? If it's not a hell yes, it's a wholesale.
Yeah.
But that means that you could do one flip a year, you could do one new build a year, or you could do 10, 20, 30 flips a year, or multiple new builds a year. It's really just what your marketing supports, right?
Exactly.
You're not forcing it. At the end of the day, by having the direct to seller marketing campaign is what allows you to make those decisions and have those fat rips and have the deals, the flips, the new builds that don't keep you up at night.
Exactly. And to that point, like, it's about your lifestyle. Like I always say, make it a lifestyle business.
Mm-hmm.
I was guilty of this. I got caught up. I don't know who made this like a sexy thing. Like, I'm going to do 100 deals a year. There's nothing wrong with doing 100 deals a year.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, I'd rather do 20 really good deals a year
Mm-hmm.
and have a lot more time, freedom, can go fuck off, can go on vacation, spend time with my family, and build other businesses than be bootstrapped for cash, stressed to the max about a deal that's going to make me $5,000.
Exactly. Yeah, and then just the volume that you need a bigger team to do 100 deals,
Exactly.
and that's the way that I look at it. It's like, okay, the goal is $1 million. Do I need to do 100 deals at 10K, or do I need to do 20 deals at 50K?
Exactly.
Right? Like what's the difference there? And by doing doing quality over quantity, you have half the team, half the stress.
The overhead.
It's exactly
Yeah.
the overhead too. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
whole other story. But I think it's just so important to understand that, and then it's also just, I think that what so many people don't understand is like, okay, how do I make that happen?
Yeah.
You have to be vertically integrated, right? You have to have kick-ass marketing. You have to have one or two kick-ass sales guys, and you have to have a great contractor that's ready when the opportunity presents itself.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Reverse engineering those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And just like say, okay, I know my contact rate is X. I know my contractor close rate is X. And just reverse engineer that formula to say, all right, this is my goal. And I'm realistically, if I say I'm going to make, I want to net $1 million, I need to probably make 1.4 with the evaluation and the goal. Because things are going to happen, prices are going to go up with material maybe, or your marketing might go up, fallout rate, etc. So yeah, I think you're dead on with your point there.
Yeah. For you, in regards to, just like I said before, you've kind of done it all in residential. You are finally living that life of time, money, and freedom.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Which is awesome to see. And right now I'm in the trenches. I'll be in the trenches for probably another 3-4 years. You were in the trenches
Sometimes
for a
I
while.
like getting back in the trenches.
Yeah.
It drives Jake crazy, probably, but
Yeah.
I think he appreciates it at the same time. Yeah.
And one thing that I learned from you too, and it wasn't until later on that you had gotten this advice, but I think it was very important, and I see it in my business, is just that the business owner, the entrepreneur himself, is the biggest bottleneck in their business.
Yeah.
When you were given that advice, because I understand it, right? You're responsible. In order for my guys to succeed, it's on me, right? It's on. I can control how many leads enter the system. I can control what type of leads. I can control, I can't control level of motivation, but I control, the dialer, their connection rate, the systems and processes, how quickly I get back to them. How have you seen, since you've gotten that advice, which was kind of towards my tail end of my time at Stag, how have clearly you've implemented that, you've really built yourself out of the operation, the business runs without you, you've done your stress tests and all that stuff, and it's worked out. So what actions would you say you've taken, and it probably reverts back to what I said with just letting people, kind of mess up.
I just literally got out of the way.
Yeah.
I just literally was like, I'm going to just go. I'm going to go on a vacation. I'm going to make sure that nothing crazy is going to go on while I'm gone during that time. Meaning, like, I knew that payroll was taken care of. I knew I didn't need to sign any loan docs. But, like, basic day-to-day, like, let your phone ring. Tell them, don't let them drown. But, like, if it's a 911 emergency, like, someone died, or something's on fire that we own, double call me.
Yeah.
Answer. But like, I think it was more so just like knowing that we would have an opportunity at the end of that period of time, whether it's 3 days, a week, whatever you feel comfortable with, to unpack what couldn't go on without that individual. But it's beyond. Yeah, I always look at it like this. I think maybe it was a mindset shift too. It was beyond me just wanting to empower the guys and gals that work in the company.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be more confident in their jobs and do a better job if they know they can do it without whomever. But also, like, what if, God forbid, I walk out here and get hit by a freaking bus?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them to suffer because I'm a body cast or whatever. So, like, knowing that peace of mind that it can go on if something were to happen. That's obviously a very traumatic example of that. But if I want to go to a family vacation, take a family vacation, I know they're taken care of.
Yeah, I know. I don't know when you did it, but I do remember I got a text from Jake one day. He's like, "Hey, have you heard from Nate at all?" I was like, oh, I talked to him like last week. What's up? He's like, "Do you mind shooting him a text? He hasn't been answering me. I want to make sure he's all right." And then you answered me immediately, and I was like, He's doing the stress test. He's doing it. He always talked about it with me, but he never did it. He's stress testing you. Yeah, you're good. Do not text him anymore. He'll reach out when it's over. It's just so funny. But that's awesome that worked, and it's awesome. It's great for me to see. Obviously, it was so tough for me to leave Stag and everything, but it's so great to see that, see you guys obviously succeeding even more than you were when I was there, and seeing, you happy, Jake happy, and you guys having a full-on team just kicking ass. So
yeah, no, it's been a wild ride. And I think one of the things too, like, I told you to leave.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't kick you out of the door with my Tacomas, but I was like, we went random numbers and went back and forth, and I made you a proposal, and to this day I'm glad you didn't take it. Not because I wouldn't enjoy working with you, but you're just happier now than you would have been, and I think that's a good. I mean, I think you even had a conversation with somebody like that made it that much harder when it's like someone's not trying to hold you back.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do, and now you're kicking ass too, which is awesome to see.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it just speaks volume to your character, to push me, and you knew that that's what I wanted to do, right? And you probably didn't think I had the balls to do it. I didn't even know. Like, we left that meeting, I was like, shit. Now it's me versus the world.
It's a different feeling. It's like when your Amex is the one getting banged.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, shit, this is real. Now I know what Nate was bitching about.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget when you told me, you were like, hey, you just wait. You never make as much money as you think, and it's always you. It's your, the $1,000 EMD that gets forfeited, that's your $1,000. That's no one else's. You don't charge commission on that.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, it's just the battle of entrepreneurship, which kind of leads me to just the next section where it's just overall mindset. Obviously you could have a military background, and you've been a badass dude with gyms, jumping out of planes, shooting guns, blowing shit up. What is kind of a mindset that, and I'm sure it's changed from, the beginning of your entrepreneurship career, to present day. What is kind of some mindset, whether it's quotes, books, or anything that's kind of gotten you to the point where you're at today?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like, everyone always asks, like, what do you think is the number one common denominator of any success that you've had? And I think I'm just too dumb to quit, or too stubborn, whichever word you want to put in place of that.
You did always say too dumb to quit. I
too dumb to quit, man. It's just like, mama didn't raise no bitch, and I'm just gonna keep pushing. And I know, like, and the reason I'm that way, I think, the military, but like the most successful people I know, they're not the most educated. Their grammar sucks. They probably cuss too much. Not saying that's who you have to be successful. Yeah. But they just have grit. And someone might be more intelligent than them. They might carry themselves better, but they won't outwork that person. And consistent hard work, in my opinion, will always pay off. And, like books, I've been a big fan of, a ton, like, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Older book, but a good book. Extreme Ownership, great book. Has back to that mindset is entrepreneurship. Like, at the end of the day, you've got to own everything, good, bad, or indifferent. And sometimes it can be really challenging. Sometimes it's easier to pass that buck off on someone else. Really, you fucked up,
Mm-hmm.
and owning that out. And now I was talking to, I forget who it was, but anyway, they were kind of beating themselves up and going through hard times. Like, I feel like I'm just putting out all this effort and not getting anything back in return. And I was like, dude, first of all, stop throwing yourself a fucking pity party.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Second of all, I'm just going to say this, take it for what you want, is, all right, no amount of anxiety, no amount of regret can change the past.
Mm-hmm.
No amount of anxiety can change the future. But any amount of gratitude and self-respect can change the present.
Yeah.
And realize that, pick yourself up, dust
Mm-hmm.
yourself off, and get back to fucking work.
Damn right. Damn right. Yeah. No, that's powerful stuff. And I like it is cool to hear you break it down like that, because it is just as simple as mom ain't raised no bitch.
That's it, man.
But it is, there's true meaning behind it. And, coming from you who's, been through it, who's had those ups and downs, who's lost, a good bit of money on deals and obviously made a bunch of money on deals, kind of having those ups and downs and being able to get back up is awesome. And I did forget to mention on all those things Nate is. He is also an author now. He did just come out with his first book, which I haven't read it yet. It's on my next one. I've been reading Atomic Habits, which is
That's a great book.
It's my second time reading it, which
Yeah.
reading books twice is actually really cool.
It is. You pick up, especially if you take notes and highlight the first time.
Yeah.
You can see what you picked up. You can also see what you missed.
100%. Yeah, use two different colors. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Yeah. But yeah, that's my next read, and it's not the longest read, which I'm going to be excited about.
Oh, dude, that was my goal when I wrote the book, and really had no plans. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to do this and see what happens.
Yeah.
Didn't forecast, who was going to help or whatever. But, I wanted to be a quick, easy read that had a lot of actionable things that you can pull out of it and extract. So you have to let me know what you think about it.
Yeah. Can you give them a few teasers of the book, and we'll link it. We'll link it in the section if they want to get it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, really, it's called Operation Freedom. And the whole point of it is how to build a virtual real estate company without stealing your time.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through everything from direct seller marketing strategies to virtual operation strategies to a lot of life lessons of mine, to even some massive failures of mine, and then touches and ends on kind of the mindset piece.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Well, guys, we'll put that in the comments on Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. And definitely get a copy. You heard he's got a ton of value, a lot of experience, so definitely buy it. But Nate, thank you. It was great having you.
Absolutely.